The great hall of the Galactic Forum was filled with light from hundreds of glowing orbs that floated above the seats. Where the ambassadors of many alien civilizations gathered, the air was thick with whispers and tension as the meeting began, and every race looked at the human delegation that sat quietly near the center. Nathan Brooks, the human envoy, sat with his hands folded, his calm eyes watching the movements of the alien speakers who were louder and more emotional in their speeches. Around him, Claire Bennett, the science officer, and Lucas Hall, the strategist, exchanged a few quiet looks. Both of them knew this day would not go peacefully. The Galactic Forum had always been a place meant for unity. But over the last few years, it had turned into a place of accusation and mistrust, and humans had become the favorite target for fear and blame. When the High Speaker of the Drakari stood, the room fell silent. His scaled face shimmered under the light as he pointed his long fingers at the humans and said that Earth was expanding too fast, that humans were mining worlds that belonged to others, and that they were breaking the balance of peace across the stars. Nathan listened without showing anger. He had learned long ago that silence sometimes spoke louder than words. When the Drakari finished, a few others joined in accusing humans of building fleets that no one could match, of sending ships too close to alien borders, and of refusing to share new energy technology. Nathan stood and the hall grew quiet again. His voice was calm and clear. He said that humanity sought peace, that the new colonies were built on empty worlds, and that no human fleet had ever fired the first shot. But his tone carried a weight that made even the loudest speakers hesitate. He said that humans remembered the wars of their past, that they had learned from blood and loss, and that they did not seek to repeat those mistakes. But if any world wished to test the strength of Earth, they would learn that peace was not weakness. The Drakari speaker hissed and said that humans hid their power behind soft words, that they acted kind only to prepare for conquest. Nathan did not reply. Instead, he sat down again, his expression unreadable. Claire leaned close and whispered that the Drakari were trying to provoke them. Lucas nodded, saying that patience would be their best weapon today, for every word spoken here was being watched across the galaxy. After the meeting paused for recess, Nathan walked through the long corridors of the forum. Many alien eyes followed him, some filled with fear, others with curiosity. He thought about how quickly things had changed only decades ago. Humanity had joined the forum with hope, believing that peace among the stars was possible, but now they stood alone, surrounded by distrust and jealousy. Claire joined him and said that the new energy reactors had made many races nervous. They saw humans as unpredictable and fast-moving. Nathan said that fear was natural when a young species moved faster than the old ones, but he also said that fear could become dangerous when mixed with pride. When they returned to the main hall, the debate had grown even louder. A faction of smaller races argued that humans brought stability to the border worlds, that trade had increased and piracy had fallen since human patrols began. Others said that humans had too much influence, that their technology could rewrite the balance of the galaxy. Nathan did not speak again. He only watched, listened, and noted every face that spoke against them. When the assembly ended, the human delegation walked back to their transport in silence outside the giant windows of the forum. The stars shimmered above the gas clouds of the planet below. Lucas looked at them and said that one day, those same stars might not shine kindly on the forum. Nathan replied that maybe that day was closer than they thought. Back on the human embassy ship, the team gathered for a report. Claire showed data that several races, including the Drakari, had begun military buildup near human colonies. They were forming alliances against Earth, quietly preparing for a future conflict. Lucas suggested strengthening the outer defense lines. Nathan agreed, but told them to do it quietly. He said that fear could turn to panic, and panic could turn to war. He wanted them to move like shadows, seen only when they chose to be seen. In the following days, human delegates attended smaller meetings where trade rights and colonial boundaries were discussed, but everyone knew these were just masks, hiding deeper plans. Claire noticed how many alien envoys avoided eye contact, and how others spoke in code about joint security measures. She told Nathan that the forum was no longer a council. It was a battlefield of words. Nathan agreed. He said that humans were surrounded by smiles, hiding blades one night. Nathan looked out from the ship window, watching the forum world spin slowly below him. He thought about Earth, its oceans and cities, the people who trusted him to keep peace among the stars. He remembered his father telling him that humanity always walks alone first, then others follow. But sometimes the road must be walked in silence. He wondered if that time had come. Claire came to him and said that the next day the forum would vote on restricting human trade rights. Nathan smiled faintly and said that the vote was already decided before it began, but he also said that maybe that was what humanity needed. A reason to stop pretending Lucas joined them, and reported that several human colonies had sent encrypted messages offering to cut ties with the forum to stand independent. Nathan told him to wait to do nothing until he gave the word. The next morning the forum was crowded, every seat filled as the vote began. The High Speaker read the proposal to limit human access to shared research and restrict travel beyond certain regions. Many alien representatives supported it, while a few argued against it. But their voices were drowned by the louder crowd when the votes were counted. The result was clear. Humans had lost their privileges. Nathan stood slowly and asked to speak one. Last time the hall went silent, he looked around and said that humanity came to the stars not to conquer but to learn, but that they would never bow to fear or be chained by the jealousy of others. He said that humans had offered friendship, but had received suspicion that they had shown peace but were answered with threats. Then he said that humans would remember this day and act accordingly. His words were calm, but carried a deep warning. When he finished, he walked out, followed by Claire, and Lucas. No one stopped them. The silence in the hall felt heavy and cold later on. The human ship Nathan ordered all communication with the forum to be limited. He told Claire to prepare a full report to Earth Command. He said that soon there would be changes, but not of the kind the forum expected. Lucas asked him if this meant war. Nathan said no, it meant freedom. Claire looked at the stars and said that the galaxy would not understand. Nathan said they did not have to understand, only to watch. The human ship left the orbit slowly, and behind them the glowing world of the forum became smaller. The aliens who saw it from their observatories noted that the humans did not rush. They moved with quiet precision and purpose, as if they already knew what would come next across the galaxy. Messages began to spread that the humans had started pulling back from the forum, that they were preparing something unseen, and even though no human weapon had been fired yet, many races began to strengthen their borders because deep down they all felt the same thing: the humans were leaving, and the galaxy did not know whether to feel safe or afraid. The stars beyond the forum world stretched like a river of light, and the human ship glided through them in silence. Nathan Brooks sat in the command room watching the display screen as the blue light of faster travel shimmered across the walls. Claire Bennett sat beside him studying data streams that showed alien communications across nearby sectors. The Drakari fleets were moving again near the human colony on Vesta Prime, and several unknown signals had been detected in nearby space. Lucas Hall came in holding a report. He said that their intelligence units had confirmed the Drakari were sending drones near human stations, pretending to survey minerals, but actually spying on defenses. Nathan listened quietly and said that they expected this. He told Lucas to inform the colonies to maintain calm and not to react. He said that silence was stronger than noise. Claire said that the colonies were worried that without the forum humans would be easy targets. Nathan looked at her and said that fear was the only weapon the forum had left and that humans would not give them that power back on Earth. Command had already received the report of the forum vote. The leaders were angry, but Nathan's message had been clear. Humanity would not return to argue with those who saw them as a threat. They would build their own path away from the endless politics of aliens far from Earth in the outer colonies. Engineers worked day and night expanding orbital shipyards and upgrading defense platforms. Lucas traveled between those colonies. Coordinating efforts, he watched how the people worked, not in fear, but in quiet pride. They knew something was changing. He saw new ships being built, not for conquest, but for readiness. One night, while he stood on the deck of a transport station looking at the half-finished hull of a new cruiser, he thought about how quickly humans adapted. Every crisis became a lesson. Every threat became a reason to grow. Claire spent her days on Luna Research Base studying alien data. She found evidence that the forum races were sharing information to build a new weapon, based on energy resonance. She sent the data to Nathan and said that it looked unstable and dangerous. Nathan replied that they always built things they could not control. A few weeks later, human scouts reported that a Drakari patrol ship had crossed into the edge of human space. Nathan did not send warships. He sent a single unarmed exploration craft with a message that simply said that the border was protected and further entry would be seen as aggression. The Drakari withdrew after scanning the human ship and discovering its hidden shield. Strength rumors began to spread across the galaxy that humans were testing new defense systems. The forum leaders met in secret sessions to discuss it. Some wanted to send envoys to ask for talks. Others said humans had gone too far, but no one dared to make the first move. Nathan continued his calm work from orbit. Around Mars, meeting with his team every day to plan the next steps, he told them that they would expand the frontier and let the forum believe what they wished. The less they explained, the more the galaxy would fear. Claire said that fear might turn into war. Nathan said that wars begin when people think they can win, and no one believed they could win against Earth, not anymore. Lucas returned from the Outer Rim with new reports. The mining fleets had discovered a massive asteroid filled with rare metals. He suggested using it to build the next generation of starships. Nathan approved, saying that each new ship would not just be a tool of defense, but a symbol of independence. While they worked, the galaxy watched every alien news. Network discussed humanity. Some said they were retreating. Others said they were planning something. The truth was, no one knew, and that was exactly how Nathan wanted it. He believed that mystery was stronger than threat because it made others imagine more than they could see. One evening, Claire visited Nathan in his quarters and said that some smaller races had contacted her secretly. They wanted human protection in exchange for trade deals. Nathan said that it was only the beginning, that once fear spread enough, even their enemies would come offering peace the next week. The Drakari made another move. They sent a fleet near a neutral zone, claiming it was a training exercise, but their ships stayed close to human sensors. Nathan ordered no action. He said that patience was their greatest weapon, and the longer they waited, the more nervous the others became. Lucas disagreed. He said that doing nothing made them look weak. Nathan smiled and said that weakness is what others see before they realize it is a trap. The tension lasted for days. Then, without warning, the Drakari fleet turned away, returning to their own space. The message was clear. They had tested human response and failed to provoke it. Across the forum, world whispers spread. The old ambassadors argued that the humans had changed, that they no longer played by known rules. The High Speaker tried to reassure them, saying that the humans would come back eventually because no race could survive alone. But deep down, even he did not believe his words. Meanwhile, on Earth, ordinary people carried on their lives, but everywhere talk of the forum filled. The news people felt both proud and uncertain. Proud that humans stood on their own, but uncertain what that would mean for peace. Nathan spoke to Earth Command through secure channels. He said that the time of being one voice in a crowd was over. Now they would be their own chorus, their own law. His words spread quietly through the colonies and were repeated by workers, soldiers, and explorers. They called it the Silent Doctrine, meaning that humans would speak less and act more far from human space. Other races began building more ships. Alliances formed between old enemies out of fear of what humans might do. Some of them tried to send spies into human territory, but none returned. One captured ship was found drifting empty near Jupiter. Its systems fried, its crew gone. The recording showed only static and one final sound, like distant thunder. That recording spread through the black markets of alien worlds, becoming a ghost story told in dim cantinas, that the humans had eyes in the dark. Nathan heard about it and said nothing. He let the myth grow, because he knew that fear kept peace better than treaties. One day, Claire came to him with a report that shocked even her. She had intercepted a coded message from a group within the forum, planning to create a joint strike force if humans continued to expand. Nathan read it, and then said quietly that the forum was digging its own grave. He ordered the fleet to remain silent and unseen, but to prepare every ship for rapid movement. Lucas asked if they were preparing for war. Nathan said no, they were preparing for choice. He knew that one day soon the forum would cross the line, and when that happened, humanity would not argue, they would act. The days passed, and the galaxy kept watching. Human ships moved like shadows along the borders, calm, steady, and disciplined. The Drakari fleets withdrew deeper into their own zones, and the other races began to question if confronting Earth was wise. Nathan stood again by the window of his command ship, looking at the stars that stretched endless before him, and said quietly that the Forum still believed humans needed them, but soon they would learn that the galaxy needed humans more than humans ever needed the galaxy. The message that humans had left the Forum spread through every known system, and across every world and station. The news channels repeated the story again and again, saying that the humans had abandoned diplomacy and cut all ties with the old galactic order. The Great Hall of the Forum stood silent for the first time in centuries. The alien representatives argued among themselves, but without the human voice, their words felt smaller, less certain. Nathan Brooks had already returned to Earth, where he stood before the Council of World Leaders explaining the new direction. He told them that leaving the Forum was not surrender, but freedom. He said that humanity had given enough of its voice to others, and now it was time to listen. Only to themselves, Claire Bennett stood beside him, showing maps of new colonies that would grow without outside interference. Lucas Hall provided security reports explaining that human fleets were now positioned across the outer rim, ready for any movement from hostile races. The Council agreed with Nathan, but they also worried about what would come next. Humanity had just declared its independence from the rest of the galaxy, and the galaxy did not forgive easily. After the meeting, Nathan walked alone through the glass corridors of the Earth Spire, the tallest building in the capital city below him. The lights of the city shone bright against the night sky. He thought about the Forum and the faces of the alien delegates, some angry, some fearful, some confused. He wondered how long before one of them tried to force humans back under their control. When he reached his office, Claire was waiting with new information. She said that several Forum factions had begun military exercises near neutral zones. Nathan said that was expected. He told her to let them play their games because the humans would not move first. Lucas entered carrying a message from the outer colonies. He said that the mining fleets had been recalled to safer space and that several outposts had started to build their own defense grids. Nathan told him that they should continue and prepare for self-reliance because the old system of shared defense was over for good. As the weeks passed, the galaxy grew. Restless ships moved, armies gathered, and words turned sharper each day without human presence. The Forum began to split into smaller groups, each blaming the other for the instability. Some worlds demanded peace. Others demanded war. The High Speaker of the Drakari made a speech saying that humanity's departure was a threat to order, and that the Forum must act before humans became too powerful again. Nathan watched that speech from his office and simply smiled. He told Claire that fear was their strongest message, and that they did not even have to send it themselves on Mars. The great shipyards continued to build new cruisers. Their engines burned bright in the dry red sky. Workers sang old Earth songs as they built the ships. They said that the stars belonged to them now, and that no one could tell humans where they could go. Lucas traveled there to inspect the progress. He walked along the lines of steel and energy conduits, feeling the vibration of engines ready to wake. He knew that soon these ships would not only defend Earth but also carry the message of human strength to every corner of the galaxy. While the humans prepared, the Forum became desperate. They sent messages requesting talks. They said that misunderstandings had grown too large, that peace must be restored, but no human voice answered. Nathan told his people to remain silent and let the silence speak, because every unanswered message made them more nervous. Some alien traders still came to human stations. They brought goods and stories. They spoke in whispers about how the Forum was losing control. One trader told Claire that some worlds had already left the Forum fearing collapse. She told Nathan, and he said that was the beginning of the end for the old order far from the center of the galaxy. Human explorers reached new systems rich in resources. They planted new flags and sent messages back to Earth, saying that the frontier was wide open again. These were worlds untouched by any Forum claim, and soon new settlements began to grow. Their families left the old colonies to start fresh under a sky that no alien law could touch. One evening, Nathan stood at the window of the command center on Luna. He looked at the blue Earth rising over the horizon and said quietly that freedom always begins with silence. Claire, who stood beside him, said that silence could also lead to war. Nathan replied that peace forced through fear was still peace, as long as no one fired the first shot. Lucas entered with news that a small Drakari fleet had entered a neutral zone near human territory. Nathan told him to send a single message. Tell them that humans see everything, and then nothing more. Hours later, the Drakari fleet retreated. No, one could explain why, but sensors showed a shadow near their ships, a faint signal that made them panic. No one outside the human command knew what caused it. Rumors spread that humans had developed invisible weapons that could destroy fleets without a sound. The truth remained hidden. Nathan encouraged those rumors because he understood that mystery kept enemies far better than guns kept them in line. The forum, meanwhile, began to fall apart. Smaller factions began leaving and forming their own councils, each claiming to represent the true voice of unity. But none could agree even among themselves. The galaxy that once prided itself on order, now drowned in uncertainty and fear, all while humanity watched from the shadows. Claire continued, her research improving human communication systems and developing faster drives that could make human ships travel farther than any other race. Lucas trained the fleet with precision, turning them into a force that could appear and vanish without warning. Nathan oversaw it all with quiet patience, every move measured, every plan made not for war, but for survival. One night he received a personal message from an old alien diplomat who had once been a friend. It said that the forum was preparing a new vote to declare humans a rogue species that must be contained. Nathan read it slowly and then deleted it without a word. He called Claire and Lucas and told them that from that moment, humans would no longer send or receive any diplomatic signal from the forum. He said that from now on, humanity would exist beyond their reach, beyond their control, and beyond their fear. The next morning, the human communication network went silent. Every relay that once carried forum messages shut down, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy lost contact with Earth. Panic spread among the alien powers. They sent ships to human borders, but none dared to cross the invisible line. They sent drones, but none returned. The humans had vanished into their own space, and that silence terrified the galaxy more than any threat could across the alien worlds. People spoke in hushed tones, saying that the humans had become ghosts, that they were preparing something unimaginable. In truth, humanity was simply working building. Growing, Nathan stood again before the Council on Earth and told them that they had entered a new age. He said that the galaxy was now divided between those who feared and those who acted, and that humanity would always choose to act. The council members nodded their approval, and one by one they signed the Declaration of Independence from the forum. It was a document written in simple words, but its meaning shook the stars. It said that humanity would decide its own destiny, without permission, without apology, without hesitation. Nathan watched the signatures appear and said that the galaxy would learn soon enough what it meant. When humans walked alone, he looked out the great window of the chamber where Earth glowed blue and alive against the black of space, and said that this time they would not be part of history, they would write it themselves. Across the galaxy, silence had become the loudest sound, and the name of Earth had become a shadow that made even the strongest races speak softly. Every message that came from the forum was ignored. Every scout sent near human space disappeared without trace, and every rumor about what humans were building grew larger. With each retelling, Nathan Brooks sat in the command room of the orbital station above Mars, reading reports from the outer colonies. The humans had expanded faster than anyone expected. New stations, new shipyards, new research bases, all working in harmony. Without a single request for help from the outside, Claire Bennett came in with a data pad showing the latest communication logs. She said that at least 9 alien governments had tried to re-establish contact, promising trade and cooperation. Nathan looked at the messages and said that they were not ready to talk. Yet he said that peace offered out of fear was not peace, but surrender. Lucas Hall entered the room and told them that the fleet was now operating across 3 sectors, unseen and unheard. He said that they had eyes in every direction, and that if any enemy made a move, they would know before the first ship left its dock. Nathan told him to keep it that way, to let the galaxy believe whatever it wanted, because the less they said, the more powerful they would appear. Far from Mars, the colony on Vesta Prime had grown into a city of lights, with its own defense grid and factories that worked day and night. The people there spoke proudly of the day humans left the forum. They called it the Day of Silence, and every year they watched the stars together in celebration, believing that they had become truly free. One night, as Claire watched the celebration through the colony's broadcast, She said to Nathan that freedom was a heavy gift, because it came with no one to blame if things went wrong. Nathan said that was what made it worth having. Meanwhile, the forum was crumbling, the old alliances had broken, and the high speaker of the Drakari stood before an empty chamber shouting at ghosts. He declared that the humans must be stopped, that their silence was the beginning of conquest. But no one listened anymore, because every race had its own problems. Every empire feared the next collapse. Nathan received intelligence that several smaller worlds were planning to leave the forum and seek human guidance. Claire asked if they should respond. Nathan said, not yet. He wanted them to choose on their own. He said that those who came freely would stand stronger than those who came from fear on the outer rim. Lucas supervised training exercises with the new human fleet. The ships moved through the void like shadows. Leaving no trace, their captains were disciplined. Their crews quiet. They were not warriors looking for battle, but guardians ready for anything. Lucas remembered the early days of the forum when human ships were inspected by alien officers who looked down on them now. Those same races built walls against the very fleets they once mocked one evening, while Nathan was reviewing reports from the frontier. Claire entered looking troubled. She said that a small alien envoy ship had arrived near the borders. It carried a message from a race called the Lurian. They wanted protection from the Drakari. Nathan asked what they offered in return. Claire said they offered loyalty and resources. Nathan thought for a long moment, and then said to let them settle on the edge of human space and to give them help. But quietly, no broadcasts, no announcements. He said that the galaxy should not yet know that humans were already gathering allies within weeks. The Lurian ships arrived, escorted by human patrols, and they began building their settlements near the human colonies. They told stories of the forum's corruption and greed, and how they feared that one day the Drakari would come for them. Nathan listened to their words and said that the galaxy was learning faster than expected. Months passed and the silent human network grew stronger. New technologies were born, energy fields that could hide entire stations from scanners, drives that could make ships vanish from sensors in seconds. Humans shared nothing with outsiders, yet everyone could see that something great was forming in the dark. The Drakari tried again to test human space, sending spy drones near the borders, but none returned their sensors, recorded flashes of light, and then nothing. The Drakari Council grew afraid and called a secret meeting with other races. They proposed to form a new alliance, not for peace, but for defense against humans. Nathan knew of this through intercepted transmissions. He told Claire and Lucas that the galaxy was gathering not for unity but for fear. Claire asked if they should confront them. Nathan said no. He said that when fear gathers too tightly, it collapses under its own weight, and that humans would only need to wait and watch back. On Earth, the people had changed. They no longer looked to the stars with wonder, but with confidence. They saw the stars as their inheritance, and every new discovery as proof of their place in the galaxy. Children learned about the time before the forum as an old story, something distant and strange, and parents told them that the silence of humanity was the reason they could sleep safely at night. Nathan visited one of the education centers and spoke to the young students. He told them that strength was not in weapons but in will, that silence was not weakness but the power to choose when to speak and when not to speak. His words spread across the colonies, and soon people began repeating them as a kind of quiet oath. Meanwhile, in the forum, chaos deepened. The Drakari tried to seize control of weaker worlds but were met with resistance. Others fought among themselves and trade between systems collapsed. Some races started to secretly copy human technology, but failed miserably because they did not understand the logic behind it. Nathan learned of these attempts and said that imitation without understanding was a kind of blindness. The human fleet continued to grow, but not in numbers, in efficiency. Every ship was faster, every system smarter. Claire led research into artificial intelligence that could predict movements across entire sectors without human pilots. Lucas used those systems to plan strategies that no alien could comprehend. Nathan watched the progress and felt the quiet pride of a leader whose people had found their own rhythm. The galaxy, however, grew darker. Trade routes vanished. Communication lines fell silent, and the forum's influence faded to a whisper. Then one day Claire came to Nathan With news that shocked her, she said that the Drakari had begun building a massive fortress on the edge of neutral space. It was large enough to house fleets. Nathan listened and said calmly that they were afraid of ghosts because the humans had done nothing yet, but the galaxy acted as if they had already conquered it. Lucas suggested striking the fortress before it was complete. Nathan refused. He said that they would not start wars. They would let fear do the fighting for them weeks later. The Drakari fortress exploded. No one knew how or why. Some said it was sabotage, some said it was human weapons, but there was no proof. Nathan ordered silence. He said that sometimes truth was stronger when it was never spoken after that explosion. The rest of the galaxy stopped moving. Every race began to hold its breath, waiting for what humans would do next. Nathan looked out at the stars and said that the galaxy had learned its lesson, that silence could be more terrifying than war, and that soon the old forum would be nothing more than a memory of how the galaxy once tried to control humanity, but failed because humans had learned to stand alone and make the galaxy watch in fear. The galaxy had changed quietly and no one fully understood it. Yet humans moved among the stars with a calm that unsettled every alien race. Nathan Brooks stood in the command room of the central station above Earth, watching reports from every colony. The human network had grown so vast that every corner of known space had a trace of their presence, yet nothing was forced or displayed. Claire Bennett moved beside him, showing maps of the outer colonies, new settlements, and hidden research. Hubs Lucas Hall came in with reports that the Drakari had retreated deeper into their own space, and that the other forum races were divided and confused. Nathan said that was how it should be. He said that humans did not need to fight to be feared, only to exist in a way that the galaxy could not ignore. In the outer rim, the colonies thrived. Families built new homes. Miners worked the rich asteroid belts, and scientists explored planets untouched by previous empires. The people no longer feared attacks because they trusted that the human fleets watched silently, ready to respond. But only when necessary. Children learned to navigate star charts and understand the history of the forum. They asked questions about old ambassadors and alien wars. Nathan visited one colony and spoke to the children. He told them that strength is not measured by weapons alone, but by will and patience. That sometimes the greatest power is to stand quietly and wait. That humans had learned to move like the stars themselves in space. The fleet continued to expand. Ships with new engines capable of incredible speed appeared seemingly out of nowhere. Patrols moved without announcement or pattern. Every fleet commander was trained to anticipate and respond without showing force unless provoked. The technology was advanced, but it was also simple. Humans valued efficiency over flash, and every system operated quietly without unnecessary attention, while the galaxy speculated. Nathan, Claire, and Lucas focused on planning long-term security and exploration. They sent small, unarmed vessels to investigate distant star systems. That no other race dared enter. These ships returned with data and resources that gave humans more independence. Each discovery was celebrated quietly, but the effect was felt across the galaxy. Messages from alien traders and spies suggested that humans were growing in ways no one could predict. One day, a small group of alien diplomats approached a human station on the edge of the frontier. They requested a meeting with Nathan. They said they wanted protection from the Drakari and offered trade and loyalty. Nathan listened but did not commit immediately. He told them to observe quietly and understand that humans acted only when necessary. The diplomats were left impressed by the calm control they saw, and they returned to their world, spreading stories about human discipline and patience across the black markets and trading hubs. The forum continued to weaken. Without human presence, disputes grew louder. Alliances collapsed, and every empire feared the invisible force they had once ignored. Messages began to arrive at Earth Command from small races seeking guidance or simple advice. Nathan decided that they could assist quietly, giving small improvements, suggestions, and resources, but never interference. The galaxy soon realized that humans were not seeking dominion, but influence through presence and intelligence alone. One evening, while looking at the stars from the orbiting station, Nathan spoke. To Claire and Lucas, he said that the galaxy finally understood that humans were not predictable, that their strength was hidden in silence, and that the fear they inspired was not from weapons, but from purpose. Claire asked if it was enough. Nathan said that the lesson was just beginning. Lucas said that some races might try to challenge them anyway. Nathan smiled and said, "Let them try. Only the foolish would face humans without understanding what that meant across the human colonies. People built new ships, stations, and cities quietly and efficiently. Every achievement was measured not in glory but in capability. The stories of old forum politics and alien arrogance were taught in schools as examples of human patience and strategy. In time, some alien races began sending representatives to study humans quietly, hoping to learn from them. Nathan called these visitors observers, not allies. He said that no race could ever command humans, they could only watch and learn. Months later, reports came that some of the Drakari fleets had begun to shrink, their patrols decreased, and some bases were abandoned entirely. They said nothing, but the timing of every move suggested that the humans were always watching from a distance. Nathan, Claire, and Lucas monitored these changes silently. They did not celebrate. They simply recorded and learned. Humans continued to explore the distant reaches of the galaxy, establishing small colonies on planets untouched by the Forum. The settlers learned to live independently, relying on technology, intelligence, and communication systems that allowed them to operate without central control. Each new colony added to human influence without creating fear or dependence. Earth itself remained a hub for administration and research. The people there lived normal lives, but they knew that their safety came from the preparation and discipline of those who watched from the stars. One day, a young commander approached Nathan asking if humans should finally return to the Forum. Nathan looked at him and said that the Forum no longer mattered, that the galaxy would never fully trust humanity. And that was the point. Humans did not need approval or recognition, only freedom to act when they chose Nathan. Then asked the commander to continue strengthening the fleet and to ensure every colony could operate independently in case of sudden conflict. The galaxy now watched humanity not as a participant in politics, but as a force of nature quietly shaping the future without showing aggression. Alien. Historians wrote of humans as unpredictable but brilliant, and the tales spread faster than official reports. Traders spoke of the silent fleets and how nothing moved without notice. Every alien ruler whispered in private councils about the humans and their invisible power. While all this happened, Nathan looked out at the stars from the command station and thought about the Forum and the decisions that had led to humanity leaving. He remembered the faces of the ambassadors, some arrogant, some fearful, all wrong about humanity's intentions. He said quietly to Claire that leaving was not an act of defiance but an act of independence. And she nodded, understanding that every human would remember that lesson in the years that followed. Humans continued their quiet expansion, exploring new worlds, building ships, and preparing for the future. But always with patience. They never struck first, never boasted, and never revealed their full strength. The galaxy learned that humans could act without warning, move without detection, and influence without presence. Yet they chose restraint and discipline across the stars. Smaller races began, seeking human guidance not as masters but as mentors. Humans shared technology, navigation techniques, and strategies for survival without showing dominance, and the galaxy slowly adjusted to a new order, where Earth and its colonies were the silent center of a new power. And one day, the old Forum would realize that humanity's departure was the true beginning of their influence. Humanity had not left to hide, nor to retreat, but to grow stronger, wiser, and unbound by fear or expectation. Nathan, Claire, and Lucas looked at the stars once more and understood that the galaxy would always watch them with respect and fear, and that their people had finally earned the right to shape their own destiny without interference or threat, and that the silence they had chosen was the greatest message of all, and it would last for generations.